So you get on the plane in Las Vegas, Janet plane.
Yeah, right.
Fly up there. They put you on a bus with the blacked out windows.
Oh yeah, when we were going S4, right? Yeah.
Yes. So you land at Groom Lake.
Land at 51, and then
you sign some papers.
Yeah, if you want to make it a short version. Yeah, right.
You had told me the story that they started showing these briefing books that sort of laid out the general story. Was that at Groom, or was that?
That was at S4.
That was at
no,
S4.
That material would never get north of
But people
S4.
work at Groom Lake who say, I never heard any of this stuff.
Of
I
course.
never saw any flying saucers.
There is no flying saucer stuff at 51. No, that's look. 51 is there's lots of people working there. It'd be hard. When I worked at S4, again, I have no idea how it is today, but back in my day at S4, there were 22 people that had clearance and knowledge of the ET material, ET crafts. That was it. We were given the list. We knew the names on the list. That was it. I still know the names on that list today. And those are some of the things that I never say anything to you about because...
Yeah, why is that?
Well, exactly. There has to be some stuff I keep to myself because you know how many times people said, yeah, hey, I worked out there with Bob and so on and so forth. Really? Who are you? What'd you do? And whatever. And it's only the stuff I said. I'm waiting for the guy that says, hey, yeah, I worked out with you and here's some of the other people on the list. Or we did this, or is it? So if I don't keep that stuff, there's nothing I have to verify if some other guy comes up to me.
You see it all the time, though, don't you? I imagine you get emails all the time, or you read stories, or you hear claims on, if you watch television, you'd hear it, that is, about people who claim they've been out there, and obviously they're making it up.
Well, I mean, the most recent was this...
Bushman?
I think it was the CIA guy or something like that. Was it?
There was an anonymous guy who had
he was dying or he died. Yeah, and a lot of people asked me, "Hey, do you know?" And he was apparently very supportive of me, and but I never heard of him. And what am I going to say? I've never heard of the guy and never seen him.
You had seen these posters you described that were on the walls.
Yeah, the They're Here posters.
Describe what the posters
Yeah, they went through the trouble of actually making a picture of the sport model that was lifting, obviously off of Papoose Lake, because you can see the background there, and it just said, They're Here. And it was like a commercial poster. I mean, they looked like they were lithographed. I mean, they must have been printed on site. They wouldn't have done that out there. But
obviously somebody's idea of a joke.
Yeah, it was good to see that level of, lightheartedness out there.
First day you get a look at the sport model, what are you thinking to yourself? Oh my God, what are you thinking?
No, it was alien flying saucer did not enter my mind.
It was ours.
It was exactly the opposite that, this explains all the UFO sightings that, we have some field propulsion technology. It has to be in this, shape or form, flying saucer type, and this is what people have been seeing for a long time, thinking that they're alien craft, and it made perfect sense to me. It's like, great, I'd really like to be part of this project, advanced propulsion. This is dynamite. So I was excited to be part of it. In fact, when we went by it, and I think I'd even mentioned to you, it had a little American flag stuck on it,
yeah.
And I dragged my hand across it, and it felt like cold, so I just assumed it was metal and got yelled at immediately. Don't keep your hands at your side, walk forward. All right. And I went in, I was introduced to my working partner, who was Barry Castillo, or whatever I pronounce his last name. And the way they worked there was everything was very compartmentalized, so everybody had a buddy to work with. And that is the only person you can talk and converse with and bounce ideas off of. You can't talk to anybody else in any other group. You can't, even if we go sit and there's a bunch of other people around, you can only talk to the guy, your buddy, they called him. So anyway, he was my buddy, and the first day we went in there, he was excited to show me everything, and it seems like he had been alone for too long, and he was really excited that I was there, and I was kind of picking up on his enthusiasm, going, well, he says, boy, you are gonna just die when you see this, and one of the first things he did was fire up one of the reactor that had been taken out of the craft.
Well, that's where you got
There's very little about this. essentially, for size comparison, half a basketball on a plate. That was probably...
Not a whole lot of moving parts, nothing really...
No, nothing. I mean, it's just incredibly simple. There was nothing there that could do anything and it was too small to hold any large power source or anything.
So what did he show you?
Anyway, the top came off, and he put the top on, and then he said, go ahead and grab the sphere. And as my hands approached it, I couldn't touch it, which was fantastic. And if you ever played with magnets, I'm sure everybody has, you take two like poles of a magnet and you can kind of feel that balance. It was exactly like that, but it was my hands. They weren't magnetic. And he says, you're feeling a artificially produced gravitational field. And that really floored me. And, I began to run through in my mind, how can this be a joke or faked, or there's no way. And that's the first time that it was kind of a domino effect than what I had read in the briefings and going, these guys aren't kidding. This is unbelievable.
Let's go. In the briefing books, you see the craft described, and then you get into some more exotic stuff that you had to wonder, are they messing with your head? Alien stuff.
Yeah, there was. It was a one and only briefing, whatever you want to call it, or an overview of it. It was split. The entire program there was split into individual projects, and each had an overview of each project, and each group got an overview of all the other projects, in case there was some connection to what they were doing, but it was clear they didn't want everybody to know everything. And although the military loves doing that, it really screws up trying to move forward and
too compartmentalized. You can't.
It's insane, but they really enjoy that. But anyway, the only thing that dealt with any kind of biological
entities.
It's essentially what you'd call them. There was just a view of a creature, and the closest estimation I can give you is a gray, because it had a head with the large eyes, but what they were focusing on was a T-cut in the chest, and it was one large organ, and the comments were about how it functioned as a liver, a lungs, a heart, as if all organs had grown together or evolved together, where it was just, an all-purpose
internal organ.
Yeah, I guess. I don't really have an analogy for it.
The sport model, no dents, no scrapes.
No, it looked like it came right out of the showroom.
And it looked like the Billy Meyer beam ship.
Yeah, from the pictures I've seen of the Billy Meyer one, which, it looked fake to me, but no, there it is.
I'm sure the Billy Meyer people are happy about that, but I mean, there's a lot of people don't take that case seriously, and
it's either the most amazing coincidence on the face of the earth, or something really did happen to that guy, Billy Meyer. Barry and I were in the lab. We were working. Dennis came in and he said, "There's a test flight going on. Bob, why don't you come out here? Barry, you can tag along too." And that's when we came in, side door into the hangar. The craft was already out onto the dry lake bed in front of, or the lake bed proper, but it was out in front of the door. And probably about 2 minutes after I got there, the craft just began to silently lift off the ground, and there was a guy between where I was standing and the door that had a small desk, and there was some sort of transmitter on it, and he was just on a microphone talking apparently to somebody in the craft. And at the time, that again immediately set up a red flag in my mind going, that's not supposed to work either. There is a craft being powered and surrounded by an intense gravitational field. How are the radio waves getting into this thing? It just didn't make sense. But again, very few things did there, and I didn't have much of an opportunity to connect all the dots. But it lifted off the ground silently. There was an obvious high voltage corona discharge. It was beginning to get a little late, but you could see the purple-blue glow. But as soon as it lifted off, 6-10 feet, that dissipated. And it just moved around and sat back down where it was. But it doesn't sound like much, but it was incredibly impressive. There wasn't a sound other than a little hiss when it first took off. But, it's a big device. It moved around and sat down. And, I mean, I was beaming. It was so cool.
You had said, I remember, I could barely get my pointy little head around it when we were first talking about this, but that if somebody had one of these and were out in space and wanted to come to Earth, in essence, they're not propelling themselves toward Earth. It works differently, right?
Yeah. In fact, the two modes that the craft operated on are, they labeled Delta and Omicron configuration. Delta meaning using all three amplifiers, and Omicron obviously meaning just one. And the way the craft would work is, let me get rid of my reactor here. Now I'm going to draw a really bad flying saucer here. All right, so normally you would have the three amplifiers hanging, or the three emitters hanging down. In Omicron mode, a single one would swing sideways, and you would have the other two sitting like that. Now, what happens is the two that are facing straight down essentially act like a pedestal where they just keep the craft steady. The one swung out to the side creates a gravitational distortion off the edge. And these in Omicron configuration, these things really fly unstable. They do not look like any sort of high-tech technology. To give you an example, if you put a bowling ball in the middle of your bed, and 2 feet away you take your fist and you push it down, the bowling ball rolls towards it. And that's exactly how the craft operates. It focuses a single emitter and creates a gravity distortion, essentially a divot in space-time, and the craft rolls forward, in the distortion. So that's basically how the thing moves around.